Stand on the corner of Fifth Avenue today, and you are enveloped by a canopy of polished glass, gleaming steel, and the endless roar of combustion engines. But rewind time by just 150 years, and the city beneath your feet vanishes into a chaotic world of iron, sweat, mud, and towering brick. This was Manhattan in the 1870s, a metropolis exploding at the seams, caught in a violent collision between the ancient world and the industrial age. Over 1 million people were packed into a narrow strip of land, creating the dense, dangerous, and magnificent crucible that would shape the modern world. There were no neon signs, no tarmac roads, and no steel skyscrapers. Instead, the skyline was pierced by church spires and the intricate webs of newly strung telegraph wires. The air did not smell of exhaust, but of coal smoke, ocean salt, manure, and roasting nuts from street carts. Step closer and witness the raw, unrefined birth of the world's most famous city. Step out onto Broadway in 1876, and your senses are instantly violently overwhelmed.
Watch where you are going.
The noise is almost deafening. The thunder of steel-rimmed wooden wheels, grinding against uneven granite cobblestones, the cracking of leather whips, and the sharp, rhythmic clatter of thousands of iron horseshoe hooves echoing off marble facades. Over 100,000 horses powered the blood vessels of Manhattan. Every single day, they pulled heavy wooden omnibuses, sleek black hansom cabs, and massive fire engines. The streets were an absolute free-for-all, devoid of traffic lights, lane markers or crosswalks. Pedestrians darted between lunging draft horses, weaving through a dense gridlock of creaking wooden wagons. Beneath your boots, the ground was covered in a thick layer of brown sludge, a mixture of churned mud, garbage, and over 4 million pounds of horse manure deposited on the city streets daily. On dry days, a foul dust filled the sky. On rainy days, navigating the avenue was like wading through a river of filth. Above, the sky was framed not by steel beams, but by an intricate, chaotic web of wooden telephone and telegraph poles. Thousands of black copper wires crisscrossed the avenues like massive cobwebs, blocking out the sun and humming faintly with the pulse of an emerging electric age. Cross south toward the Lower East Side, and the grandeur of Broadway evaporates into suffocating darkness. Here, in neighborhoods like the infamous Five Points, the dream of the American metropolis buckles under its own weight. Narrow brick tenements stand shoulder to shoulder, 5 stories high, leaning over dark alleys where sunlight rarely touches the ground. Stepping into a tenement hallway, the thick air smells of damp wood, cheap cabbage soup, and unwashed wool. Entire families, sometimes 8 or 9 people, live packed into tiny, single-room apartments no larger than a modern master bedroom. There is no indoor plumbing. Gas lamps flicker faintly on the walls, casting deep shadows over hand-washed laundry hanging across air shafts like ragged flags. On the wooden fire escapes outside, children play high above the alleys. Down below, the streets belong to pushcart vendors shouting in a dozen different languages.
No, that is too
Yiddish,
much.
Italian, Irish, and German.
Extra,
Swarms of
extra.
newsies.
Read all about
Young boys in
it.
oversized caps and patched
Get your paper here.
trousers run through the crowds shouting
Huge
headlines.
disaster in the city.
Stories of scandal and Tammany Hall corruption